minister whose job it is to give hopefully inspiring and interesting talks every week, I've trained myself to pay attention to everything that happens in life. Because you never know when a seemingly simple something is going to happen that's going to give you an insight or an inspiration that's going to make its way into a talk. It happens to me all the time. And the truth is, I think one of the reasons for that is that our message is actually very simple. And that message is God is all there is. And we are part of God. And we co-create our experience with our thoughts and our beliefs, right? That's it. That's it in a nutshell. It's pretty darn simple. So the beauty of having such a simple message and doing and talking about the same message 52 times a year, but the beauty of having a simple message like that is that it shows up all the time. That song that Amy just sang is a perfect example of how that beautiful message shows up all the time when we pay attention, when we're watching. So because I'm tasked with doing this 52 times a year and coming up with something fresh every week to talk about based on this very simple message, God is all there is, we're part of God, and we create our experiences with our lives, I have learned to look for everything. And look for spiritual lessons in everything, no matter how random, no matter how simple, no matter how mundane. So that happened for me this week, and that brought me to our topic called the echoes. In fact, well, I'll tell you the story anyway. How this idea about echoes was very random. It was very mundane. It was during a phone call, and yet what I realized as I was thinking about it was, from a spiritual standpoint, it was deeply profound. It was deeply spiritual. So I do a lot of service work for our parent organization called Centers for Spiritual Living. And right now, what my job with the organization is I'm the regional support coordinator for Region 5, which includes most of Canada, Washington, Alaska, and Montana. Very small little area. And the RSC's job is to be on phone calls and emails and conference calls and providing support to centers and to ministers. They tap people like me, who is what we call in these days seasoned. A seasoned minister. So what I also do is that I help Home Office, our parent organization, deal with troublesome centers. And believe it or not, there are a few troublesome centers. And we have a few in our region that is most of Canada, Washington, Montana, and Alaska. So earlier this week, I was on a phone call with Reverend Christine Jeffers. She works at Home Office in Denver, and we were having a conversation about one of these troublesome centers. Now, I want you to bear in mind something, because it kind of leads into what I want to talk about. I'm talking to Christine on my cell phone, which it originates in Southern California. Christine's cell phone that we were talking on is also from California, but she lives in Denver. So the call is ricocheting or relaying from cell towers from Temecula, California to Calgary to Chico, California to Denver. Think about that. Do you love technology, first of all? Yowza, right? So anyway, I'm talking to Christine about this troublesome center. Not only is it troublesome, but it's a little bit juicy too. I have to admit, it's a little bit juicy. And so we're talking about this, but what's happening is that my voice keeps echoing back to me. Have you ever had that happen when you're talking on your cell phone? So I would ask a question or I would make a comment, and while she was answering it, I could hear my voice echoing back to me. And it was driving me crazy. So I finally said to her, I'm sorry, I have got to hang up and call you back again. I keep hearing myself echoing. And her response was, don't you hate that? It's so distracting. So I hang up my phone, not really like this, that's an old-fashioned, for us seasoned ministers, we remember when we would hang up the phone like that, right? So anyway, I'm calling her back, and I got to thinking about the conversation that we just had and what had just happened, and how it was such a metaphor for life. Because how often do our questions or our voices from the past echo back to us in the present? How often do we say, or the things that we say and the things that we think come back to us even when it's no longer relevant? How often do we allow those echoes from the past to distract us from what it is that we're currently doing? And of course, this conversation that I was having with Christine, it was not earth-shattering. It was not on a, it wasn't particularly personal. It wasn't earth-shattering on a global level. We could have continued it at any time, but the metaphor still holds true. And that metaphor is that the things that we have said and done and felt and experienced do come back to us. So the question is, are they positive? Are they life-affirming? Are they life-enhancing echoes? Or are they old, negative, distracting ones? Because we can't control the fact that things are going to echo back. It's part of how life works. But we can control the narrative of what echoes back by becoming aware of what we are saying and how we are showing up in the world in this moment. Because it's going to come back. That's the law of cause and effect. We can't help that. But we can determine what comes back. So I found this great quote by Craig Crippen. You are experiencing the echo of the vibration you are emitting. Sit with that one for a second. You are experiencing the echo of the vibration you are emitting. So the echo in this metaphor is it's going beyond our words to our actions and our beliefs. That vibration that you are emitting is the sum total of everything you are and how you are in the world, and it is coming back to you over and over again. So if it's an echo that you are enjoying, for instance, an echo of love or joy or laughter or integrity or being in the flow, don't you love that one, being in the flow, then by all means continue vibing with that vibe. However, if it's a repeating echo that is not serving you or is keeping you stuck, then maybe it's time to switch up the vibe, switch up the things that you are giving out, because it's going to keep coming back to you. Anybody have any repeating patterns? Anybody have repeating echoes? And you want to say to the voice, will you shut up? Yeah. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, calls this our mental atmosphere. It's a phenomenon. He says every person is surrounded by a thought atmosphere. This mental atmosphere is the direct result of his conscious and unconscious thought, which in turn becomes the direct reason for and cause of that which comes into his life. Our mental atmosphere, our vibe, so to speak. So we do a lot of this kind of work in Science of Mind classes. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? People come to our Science of Mind classes because they want to understand more about spirituality, more about the teaching, but the reason they want to know more about spirituality and more about the teaching is because they want to understand how their life got to be the way that it is. So what we have to do is look at some of those belief systems and go down into them. Because it is our belief systems. Remember earlier today I called it the BS, the belief system. So those belief systems that we have help to determine our vibe, which then help to determine the echo that keeps coming back. I mean, it's one thing to sit and and oh yes, it's wonderful, but that is not going to change the echo. That's not going to change the pattern. What changes that is when we become aware of the beliefs that keep repeating themselves. And then we do the work and we do the study to truly change our vibration, to change how we see the world, to change how we show up in the world, which in turn changes our echo. So in our most recent class called The Power of Your Word, we did a very simple exercise that helped the students become aware of maybe some of those deeply held belief systems that maybe they weren't aware of, but that was causing repeating echoes. And so they were asked to contemplate these 4 questions, and it helped them to see what their beliefs were. Those questions were, who lives happily ever after? What do you have to do to get ahead in life? What type of people are wealthy? And why is it hard for a woman to get married after age 40? I hate that one. So, they seem random, right? What does any of them have to do with anything? Certainly, what do any of them have to do with spirituality? Well, let me tell you why it is. It's very, very important because how the students answered the questions just within themselves, they could share if they wanted to, but how the students answered their questions gave them an idea of the beliefs that they have about certain things, which in turn show up as echoes in their lives. For instance, if someone believes that other people live happily ever after, but not them, like the pretty people or the Cinderella people or something like that, but certainly not them, then that might be what keeps coming back to them, keeps them from experiencing happiness. That make sense? Or somebody who believes that it's necessary that you've got to stomp all over people in order to get ahead, but you're a nice person, then maybe what that belief system is keeping you playing small. Or what if somebody believes that wealthy people are criminals or they're bad people? Then why would, if you think about that, why would life echo back to them as wealth and prosperity? It's not a vibrational match. If you believe that wealthy people are bad, then why would wealth show up in your life? This last one, I'm still working on that one, okay? So most of what this discussion has been so far has been about our personal choices, how life keeps reflecting back to us. But there's another kind of echo that I think is really important to talk about today, and that's how our echo, our vibe, affects other people. Because if it is true that we are all connected, and I believe that it is, then the energy that we give out into the world cannot help but reach other people. For instance, you guys remember the movie Star Wars? Anybody not remember the movie Star Wars? Okay, in Star Wars, particularly in the early ones, they talked a lot about the Force, didn't they? May the Force be with you. Remember that? Yeah. Well, the Force, back in the 70s, was this cool concept that George Lucas dreamed of to explain collective consciousness, to explain how we are all together, how we are all part of this web of life. So when something happens to an individual or something happens to a group of individuals, it affects the force, the collective, the web. You with me so far? Okay. So it was made famous by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who, was a Jedi master and a wise master, and he was reacting when a planet was completely destroyed by the evil empire. And if you remember this scene, he says, "I felt a great disturbance in the force, as if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced." Well, we have felt a disturbance in the force in our lifetimes, haven't we? 9/11 comes to mind. Mass shootings in school comes to mind. Disturbing political situations comes to mind. And not only do those types of things affect the people directly, who are directly affected by them, but they also echo back to us. And it can cause us to feel unsettled. Even though we're not part of it, it causes us to feel unsettled and distracted and fearful. So because that's true, are you all knowing what I'm talking about? Have you felt that disturbance in the force in your life? So I want you to keep that in mind. Because if that's true, then doesn't it also make sense that positive and affirming and loving energy could also affect the force as well? And that what we give out not only touches the lives of others, but then, because life is cyclical, it echoes back to us again as positive, affirming, and loving energy. I found this wonderful quote in my research, and it's actually attributed to several different people, so I don't know who actually said it. One of the people is Zig Ziglar. The other one is that famous guy, Anonymous. So I'm not sure who really said it. Life is an echo. What you send out comes back. What you sow, you reap. What you give, you get. What you see in others exists in you. Remember, life is an echo. It always gets back to you. So give goodness. In fact, as thinking, choosing, conscious, awakening people, as we are, isn't it actually our responsibility to do that? In other words, because we understand how powerful our own energy is, how powerful our vibration is, then isn't missing the mark? If we are not using it for good, if we're not using it to make a difference in our own lives and the lives of others, isn't that missing the mark? Aren't we misusing this powerful thing that we know, that our thoughts are powerful and that we can make a difference with our thoughts, and we're not doing so because we're listening to gossipy conversations about troublesome churches? We are not contributing to the greater good. Ernest Holmes said this: "You belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius back of that vast array of ceaseless motion, the original flow of life. You are as much a part of it as the sun, the earth, and the air." Just bring that in. You are as much a part of it as the sun and the earth and the air. And the leaping whales and the mist on the sea and everything else that Amy sang about today. You are as much a part of God and of life and that creative energy as anything there. There is something in you that is telling you this, like a voice echoing from some mountaintop of inward vision. Like a light whose origin no man has seen, like an impulse welling up from an invisible source. And we know this. You know it. That's why you're here on a Sunday morning. You know this. So the more that we allow that truth to be expressed, then the stronger and the more empowering our echo becomes. And it continues on in a ripple effect and comes back to us. Marcus Aurelius, what we do now echoes in eternity. What we do now echoes in eternity. So we're going to practice. Oliver, can you come noodle? I'm going to take you through just a little brief visualization. We're going to play around with the vibration, with that energy. And we're going to create a tsunami of positive echoes in the world. You with me? Okay, we'll use this as our closing prayer as well. So I invite you to go within. Just allow yourself to begin to relax. For the next few moments, there's no place else you need to be. Nothing you need to be doing. Allow your breathing to slow just a bit. As you release and let go of distracting echo thoughts. Just come into this moment right here. And I imagine you right now to visualize a ball of energy, of positivity and love and connection and joy and peace. Just imagine it right there at your heart chakra, right at your chest. And just watch it as it begins to grow. And as you put your attention on it, you see it expanding and growing. And pretty soon, that ball of energy of positivity and love and joy and peace has now extended beyond the chest area and is now encompassing all of you. And still continues to grow. And you take that energy that is now the size of you and you can allow it to expand even further so that it is touching energetically the person sitting next to you on either side, the person sitting in front of you and behind you. And it continues to grow so that all of those balls of energy of positivity and light and love and peace is now expanding so that it is touching me, it is touching Oliver. It is expanding to the size of this room. Just imagine a ball of energy, of positivity and love and peace and joy, the size of this room. Whew. And now it goes beyond the confines of this room. It goes beyond the confines of this building. And now that ball of energy, that vibrational ball of energy is now surrounding the city of Calgary. And everyone here, whether they know it or not, is being touched, is being awakened by this ball of energy. It continues to grow, and now it's covering the entire province of Alberta. And so everyone, they just have a wave, just that tiny little chill of awareness, and it grows till it's now covering all of Canada, all of North America. And it continues to grow and it continues to expand. And every person who may be feeling a little unsettled or a little bit fearful or whatever in the entire planet, every single person is feeling like a tsunami of positivity, a tsunami of joy, that their lives are being touched by the energy that we are creating right here and right now. Imagine that vibration touching lives. Imagine. Feel it. And now begin to feel the echoes coming back like a ripple, like a vibration. Imagine those echoes coming back and touching you again as a vibration and an energy of love and possibility and positivity and joy and peace. And just sit for a moment and feel that cycle of it going out and returning and going out and returning. And going out and returning. And feel it growing stronger every time you give it back. breathe it in. Breathe it in. Keep it going. Sending it out and receiving it back. Vibration out and echo back. And we're not going to make that ball of energy smaller, as in some meditations where we bring it back in. We're going to keep it out there. So as we go out this week, as we go out today to enjoy our long weekend, in everything that we do, we are expanded. We are more than who we were when we walked in today. And keep that energy going. And keep that pathway of giving out and receiving back open. I declare this to be good. I declare it to be very, very good. So with your heart expanded, your mind open, allow yourself to be back here in this room. Begin to feel the presence of the chair beneath you, your feet on the floor, your heart wide open. And when you're ready, open your eyes and be here again. I bet you'd like to hear from Amy again with your hearts wide open. Please welcome again. They're calling themselves Amy Bishop and the Hopeless Sinners. What do you think? I quite like Amy and the Bishops.